Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Petovich here. I thought I'd do an update on the tropics because the tropics are getting really active and we may see a potential system develop down in the Gulf of Mexico, which eventually could be a pretty significant storm depending on where it develops. And that's what I want to talk about today because you're seeing a lot of stuff out there, certain model guidance and stuff, but we don't quite know where this system's going to form. Now, I'm going to quickly show you a brief view of it down here in the Western Caribbean, but I want to show you the wider view too, because we've actually got three separate systems, one here, and then this one near Jamaica, which is by far the strongest one. Now these two are no issue because they're going to recurve, there's dust out there, really not much of a threat from either of those systems, but it's this system right here, which is interesting because you could see there's a 90% chance of development with this system right there in the next 48 hours, but where's the actual low-level circulation? That's kind of important because the models think it's down here, but there's some indications it might be developing up here. And I'll show you this a little bit closer as we go into the satellite image here. So I'm going to pause this and look where the Hurricane Center has its disturbance centered, right down here. But up in here, we're seeing a pretty significant uptick in thunderstorm activity. In fact, all of the model guidance, so the spaghetti plots you normally see, are fairly consistent for this system. So you can see they're pretty tightly clustered on the central Gulf Coast, and for good reason. Most people on the central Gulf Coast are taking this system very seriously. But here's the weird thing. This is where the models initialize the center. What if it forms up here? This is why there's a lot of uncertainty with this system, and until the low-level center forms, I would honestly say anybody in the entire Gulf Coast needs to pay attention, because if it forms further north, that means more of the northern and eastern Gulf is at play. If it forms a little further south, that means more of the western Gulf is at play. But right now, if you pick the middle of that, that obviously ends up being the central Gulf Coast. So let's take a look at a couple of things in the trends and the models. Now, I really love this map because for two reasons. One, it shows the last several runs. Let me see if I can move it out of the way here a little bit. Of the ensembles, which are not just one model, but several models in combination. And I'll move my head out of the way because you could see here's the last several runs of the ensembles of the European model, and it shows a cone, basically where all those ensembles are going. If you look carefully at this system, at one point the older runs had it developing here, 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 and here. And as I just showed you on the satellite image, it might be closer to Jamaica, but there's been a trend. The further north movement of it has pushed it back closer to the central Gulf Coast. That's a European. Here's a GFS, same thing, struggling with where's the low-level center form. So you see most of the Gulf of Mexico ends up looking like it's in the track of that storm. Another way to look at this is the probabilities of seeing a tropical storm or depression form. And I think this is a better way to look at models this far out because you're looking at a huge spread of possibilities, but the most likely being right here in the middle. So this is where we think it's going to be in the next 72 hours, 48 hours to 96 hours, 72 to 120. And you could see 96 to 144. So basically going out 5-6 days. So you could see the areas that are probably the most likely are going to be somewhere on the Texas, Louisiana Gulf Coast. So just from a kind of practical standpoint, that's kind of where we're looking. The concern, honestly, with this system is that if it shoots the gap here, and I'm going to go back to this map here in a minute and show you what I'm talking about. Let me move that out of the way. When I mean shooting the gap, if this moves through the Yucatan Channel, so you got Cuba here, you got the Yucatan Peninsula, if it forms and is able to stay over water the entire time through here, then it becomes a stronger storm. So you're looking at a significant hurricane somewhere up in here. The other concern is the steering currents, so just to bring the Carolinas into this, are pretty stagnant here. Once it gets to the north, high pressure is parked over us. We're baking under a heat wave here that's going to keep us nice and hot. We've also got another ridge developing out west. So once it gets in this area, it might fester for a while. It might kind of meander and cause widespread flooding inland. So that's why we're kind of watching this closely, honestly, here in the Carolinas, because depending on where this goes, it might stall to our west or to our southwest and might end up being a significant flash flood threat down the road. And I'll show you that real quickly. All right, so this is just kind of a ballpark. Don't read exactly into the specifics where this thing's going, but you can see as we go through time, the GFS takes it into the central Gulf, and it's a little closer to Florida. But I would really caution you that this storm could be anywhere from here to here. So, but just to give you an idea on what this could do once it gets to the north. So regardless of where it makes landfall, if it's around, Louisiana or Texas or Alabama or Mississippi, it moves inland and just kind of stalls for a while and moves slowly through the south. So early next week is going to be fairly interesting if this thing meanders across the mid-south, where we don't need any more rain to the west in areas like Tennessee. And so why that is important, I'll show you the rainfall forecast here, which is, I'm going to show you the 5-day QPF. And you can see this kind of bullseye of heavy rain. So you're looking at some huge rainfall amounts somewhere on the Gulf Coast, but then even inland areas in days 6 and 7. So we've got time to watch this system. It's not an immediate threat to us right now, but it's something that everybody on the Gulf Coast should be paying attention to, and eventually maybe areas inland as it brings the threat for flash flood. And of course, we've got time to watch this. The first arrival of this would be early next week, but I expect that the Hurricane Center will probably upgrade this to at least a potential tropical cyclone, if not a tropical depression or storm, sometime in the next 24 hours. Hurricane hunters are on the way out there right now, and we should have a really good idea where that low-level circulation is. And once that happens, the models will be better. We'll have data from the aircraft. I think we'll have a better idea. But everybody on the Gulf Coast, that includes southern Texas to Florida, needs to be paying attention. And the central Gulf Coast, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, you in particular, pay attention to this. Of course, I'll have updates over the next couple of days as we track potentially Ida, which is what this storm would get a name if it does get a name.